What's going on, guys? It is Corey. It's been a minute since I have put my face in one of these videos. It's been a minute. I think the last video I put my face in was the Zach Levine video. So yeah, it's been a minute. But I figured, hey, I want to try something new. So basically, I want to try to do more videos, like recapping games, specifically Eagles and Sixers. I see a lot of other content creators that I follow do this, and I've always wanted to do it myself and just give my opinions for what I watch, what I see from our teams in the games. So with that said, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to try to be doing this for every Eagles game for right now. And then when the Sixers come back around, I'm going to try to do it for those games as well, although they might not be as prompt because the NBA schedule is so sporadic, but we'll see how it goes. If these videos do well, I will definitely be keeping them going. But with that being said, I want to get into the Eagles week 1 game against the Packers. It feels good to have football back. It really does. But the Eagles, like I said, played our week 1 season opener, technically a home game, against the Green Bay Packers, but in Brazil. Why we were in Brazil, I do not know, but hey, it is what it is. As a whole, I want to go for the good first, and then I'm gonna go into the bad and not necessarily bad, but stuff that we can fix. So with that being said, Saquon Barkley, oh my gosh, this man is better than advertised. Saquon, we all knew, was a dynamic running back, one of the best in the league. You could argue a step or two behind Christian McCaffrey, but he's never really been able to fully show it because, for one, he's dealt with injuries, and two, he hasn't really had the best O-line in New York. Not even trying to throw shots at the Giants. It's just the truth. Their O-line has never really been that good, and Saquon has pretty much been kind of like a do-it-yourself type of guy for a majority of the time in New York. Like every Eagles fan and NFL fan period saw and believed, putting Saquon behind one of the better O-lines in the league, even without us having Jason Kelce, he still ate very well on that field on Friday. And it was amazing to see. This man pulled out a hat trick, getting 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 receiving. It was amazing. I mean, just looking at the stats for Saquon as a whole, rushing the ball, Saquon had 109 yards. He had 24 carries. His average was 4.5 yards a carry. His longest rush was 34 yards. And then receiving the ball, he had 2 targets, received for 23 yards. His average was 11.5. His longest was 18 yards. I believe that was on the touchdown pass. So yeah, it was great to see. It was great to see Saquon in the Eagles uniform. It was amazing to see him do his work, still being shifty, still being able to burst, still being a guy who it's hard to bring down once you get him going. It was insane. And seeing how the dynamic of that he has brought to kind of elevate this Eagles roster, not only as a player, but as a person, like his leadership has been insane. We've seen so many clips of him talking to guys during practice, after practice, how he holds guys on the team in such high regard. So I love it, and I'm very happy to have Saquon on this side. Like seriously, it feels so good to be able to root for Saquon and just have him on my team. It was amazing. I definitely enjoyed watching him, and I cannot wait to see how much more he just succeeds and achieves on this team. Because of his efforts in the first game, he got NFC Player of the Week without a doubt. Like as if there was any other person they could have given it to. You talk about a debut, it was insane. In fact, I believe I saw a stat. Saquon is the first Eagle to have 3 touchdowns in their debut for the team since Terrell Owens. That was in the early to mid 2000s. That's like almost 20 years ago. That's insane. But hey, this is reality, and I'm loving the reality right now. So thank you, Saquon, and thank you, Giants, for not paying that man. You're the best. You're the best. Okay, the next thing I want to get into that I honestly fairly enjoyed, I think more than other Eagles fans did, our defense. So yes, it was still a fairly high scoring game. I mean, the final score was 34-29, and there were some issues that we did have in our defense. However, when looking at it, I can't lie. I think we did a fairly good job, specifically in the first half. Like in the first quarter, we were doing pretty well, holding Green Bay to 3 and outs for the most part. The only time they really scored was when they had field goals. There were multiple moments that I was thinking to myself, like, okay, defense is really standing up tonight. We're doing really pretty well. There were, of course, because of the issues we had on offense, the defense was out there a bit longer than we would have wanted them to. So of course they got tired. And then given the fact that the field was not the best, it was hard to really get your footing. So of course stuff like that was going to happen. There were guys slipping and falling everywhere on both sides of the field. At the end of the day, when I really looked at it, I had a fair amount of confidence in our defense. I walked away from that game thinking, you know what, our defense actually looks fairly well so far, and I think we have the makings of probably being a really good defense. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was worried when Vic Fangio came in, only because of the fact that his defense is so well known and is used by so many people in the NFL. I was worried that more and more teams would be hip to it, and at this point would have ways of getting around it, getting past it, of gashing holes through his defensive scheme. Again, I give Fangio as much respect as everyone else does. He's highly regarded, well respected, one of the better defensive minds in the game, if not the best. There's a reason why his defensive scheme is used by so many other teams in the NFL. At the same time, like I said, with so many other teams using it, there comes the thought in my mind that okay, there's got to be some team that knows how to get past this defense. Even though the Green Bay still had a fairly well-played game for the most part. I mean, there were moments that they were gashing us offensively, but it is what it is. I think there were a lot of things on defense that I saw that were really, really well executed, well done. There were players that I really loved seeing, like Quinyon Mitchell. Oh my gosh, Q went crazy the first game. What a way to debut. I mean, he was great. I mean, I specifically remember the play that he stopped. I believe it was Christian Watson from getting a touchdown. He immediately got up and was talking trash in his ear. It was insane. Now, with that, I will say, you gotta be careful with that because we all know these NFL refs will throw a flag for just about anything, and they are very quick to throw that taunting flag. The biggest thing in the NFL, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. Q, even though this is his personality, we've seen it in training camp, we've seen it in interviews, people talking about him. He is a trash talker. He is a guy that will get rowdy. He's a guy that will get hyped up. And he's someone who will let you have it, honestly. But you just gotta be careful with that. Be careful with toning it down a little bit because, like I said, you don't want to get that taunting flag, and you don't want to hurt your team. One of the worst things I always hate to see is a guy making a play so well executed, just doing his job so well, and then he does some bonehead thing to draw a penalty, and then the opposing team's offense is driving up the field on us, and that just deflates your team. So yeah, I think he'll clean it up. I mean, he's young, he's a rookie, it comes with the territory, but overall I think Q had an amazing game. He did get a few penalty calls here and there for holding, pass interference, but for the most part he played really well. For his first game, he played really, really well. And I'm not surprised given the fact that you're on a team where you're going against guys like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown every week in practice. So that's like they say, iron sharpens iron, and that definitely took effect again in this Packers game. Yeah, Q did amazing. I cannot wait to see what he does moving forward. Now, of course, they say a lot of people were worried about our secondary analysts and such. We're saying that we can't really trust Eagles defense because of the fact that their secondary, specifically a good portion of them, are first-year players or rookies. That's fair. I mean, we have Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Of course, the stigma is always it's never really easy for rookie cornerbacks to come in and adjust to NFL play. And there has been a small amount of players who have actually been able to do it. The two that come to mind are Pat Surtain and Sauce Gardner. However, it's not impossible. That's the key thing to remember. It's not impossible. And Q showed that he has as much potential and as much ability to adjust to this NFL game as anybody else. If he keeps going this way, I think he'll have a decent shot of getting Defensive Rookie of the Year. He will be a mainstay in this Eagles defense moving forward. Thank you, Q. Great job for your first week, for your NFL debut. Yeah, let's see if we can carry this over and keep it going next week. Now, another player that I was pleasantly surprised about was Zack Baun, of all people. I mean, credit where credit is due. Zack Baun is highly regarded in the league as a linebacker. He's a guy who never really got that many reps to really be a highlight player. So there were some people who were second-guessing him, some people who were weary of him. But Vic Fangio loved him. He loved him all throughout training camp, and he used him a lot on reps in practice as well as preseason. I thought, hey, Zack Baun coming in here, he'll be decent. Sure, he'll be okay. He'll give you what you need, but I don't think he'll be circle this guy on your roster type player. And he completely shattered my expectations. This man was all over the field. He was a game wrecker, getting tackles, getting stops in the backfield, getting to the running back, pressuring the quarterback. He sacked Malik Willis on the last play of the game to seal the win. I mean, he was everywhere on that field, and it was insane to see. So yeah, just wanted to shout out Zack Baun. I mean, this dude played very well at the linebacker position for us. Definitely felt like our linebackers were a strength for once, where the last season it felt like we were like just struggling to make it work in that position. It's very refreshing to see Zack Baun play like this and seeing a linebacker play like this, period. Now, granted, it's not like he was the only linebacker making plays. Nakobe Dean played very well in this game. There were some moments where, in coverage, like people said, we're worried about, he didn't do the best, but when it came to pressuring the quarterback, stopping the running back in the backfield, oh my gosh, Nakobe did great. There was specifically one play, I don't think it was Josh Jacobs, I think it was their backup running back. He just leveled that dude. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Nakobe, he has the instincts, he has the football IQ. It's just the fact that there are some things, because of his stature, he's slightly limited, but he still makes it work. He still deserves a place on this team, and he deserves to be a starting caliber linebacker. He did a very good job. Zack Baun did amazing. It was really good to see from this defense. Now, like I said, there were some things that we messed up on that we will have to clean up. At the same time, hey, I will give it to them. They played a hell of a game. For the first week, they played a hell of a game. I love to see it. Okay, now I'm going to get into some of the negatives that I saw in this game, and unfortunately, one is Jalen Hurts. Now, I'm going to try to be fair with this, because there were some things that I saw that I didn't really see many other people point out, or at least I saw them taken in a different way. Now, I will say, the first turnover for Jalen, yeah, that was a bit of a bonehead play. I'm not really sure where he was going with that. The throw to Devontae was tightly covered, and it was a short ball, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I figured that was just rust. I mean, again, you have guys who didn't play in the preseason. They're going to have rust, period. Yes, you play in training camp, but that only gets you so much. Preseason is just as important, if not more important, than the reps you get in training camp. And hopefully Nick Sirianni realizes this. Like, hey, preseason, you gotta play these guys. I think this is the second year in a row Sirianni has not played his starters in preseason, and I think that definitely came out to bite us in this week 1 matchup. Now, the second turnover, now I believe there are some places Jalen is credited with 3 turnovers. Really, it should be 2. The second turnover that we had on our offensive drive, when Cam Jurgens snapped the ball and Jalen was not ready for it, and it resulted in a turnover. I can't really say that's Jalen's fault. I mean, I've seen the game live. He didn't even call hut. He didn't even say anything, and Jurgens snapped the ball. So yeah, that's more on Jurgens, and that's going to happen. I mean, it's growing pains. This is his first time fully being under center, not having Kelsey there. We all knew there were going to be issues like that were going to happen at some point. I'm just glad it's happening now in this week 1 rather than like 6-7 games in. So if any silver lining, I'll take that. But yeah, that turnover is more so on Cam Jurgens. It is what it is. That wasn't like a make or break thing for the game, though. I mean, in all, like, he still had a fairly decent game. Yeah, it's just some things that we need to clean up. That's all that is. Now, the second interception for Jalen. Okay, he threw it into the end zone. It got intercepted. He's trying to get to AJ Brown. I believe Jair Alexander intercepted that ball. I will say this. Looking at the way the play developed, as fans, we watch the game live, but we don't really see how the play is developing. We just see the quarterback in the pocket, waiting, buying time. Then we see him get rid of the ball, throw it out, and we just see the result over the ball lands, either incompletion, interception, or it's a catch. We don't really see how the wide receivers are moving. We don't really see like the open space that they may or may not have. It is what it is. And going back to the first interception, I will say that the first interception Jalen had, where he tried to throw to Devontae, I give more credit to Xavier McKinney on that, because he read that ball very well. Like, he was on the other side of the field, and he read Jalen's eyes, read where the pass was going, and he just hawked the ball down and just got it out the air. He took advantage of it. If he hadn't seen that, it probably would have been incompletion. We probably wouldn't be like just saying much about it. But I give more credit to McKinney on that than anything. He's a top safety for a reason, and there's a reason why Green Bay paid him the money they did, and he showed it on that play. But going back to the second interception for Jalen, seeing how that play developed, when you look back, and I'm going to try to find a still and play it in this section of the video, just so you can really look at it. If you look at how that play was developing, AJ was running into the end zone. He was trying to keep the play alive, and he was he was open. He had space between him and the other two defenders surrounding him. A good amount of space. Jalen sees that as he's running and he tries to throw it, tries to make the play happen, throws it across his body. I know a lot of people will say quarterbacks should never throw across their body. But the thing that we always say about the NBA, you can also say about the NFL, it's a make or miss league. Because if you see guys like Mahomes, even like CJ Stroud, he had a pass he threw across his body in his week 1 game. I believe it was against the Colts. It was a great pass. The guy got it. All the announcers, everybody saying, "Oh my gosh, CJ Stroud, so impressive. Look at this play." Now, if Jalen did the same thing with AJ, it would have been, "Oh my gosh, Jalen Hurts, what a great play." But because it didn't result that way, and because it results in interception, we always say, "Oh, why would you make that throw? It was a boneheaded throw. Oh my gosh, what the heck? You don't do that." Like I said, it's a make or miss league. If you look at the play developing, though, AJ was open. The only thing that messed up the play was that AJ slipped. Like if you look, and I saw Emmanuel H.O. make a video of this on Twitter saying that AJ was pissed off with Jalen for making that throw. I do not believe that he was pissed off at Jalen for making the throw. He was more pissed off that he slipped. That's how I see it. Because if you, again, looking at the play, AJ was open. He had at least a good, I'd say, 3-4 seconds of being open. So if Jalen had gotten the ball just a little bit sooner, or if AJ hadn't slipped on the field, it probably would have been a touchdown. And we wouldn't even be worrying about that play. We would be saying, "Oh my gosh, what a great throw by Jalen. What a great read. What great instincts." It didn't end up that way. But it is what it is. It's nothing to cry home about. It's nothing to, as I say, no point in crying over spoiled milk, something like that. So yeah, I give that turnover more to the crappy conditions on the field. If we were in Lincoln Financial and that play happened, I firmly believe that AJ would have either caught the ball for a touchdown or he would have at least batted down for an incompletion over the defender. Either way, I don't think that play results in an interception, but it is what it is. In all, I will say there were moments for Jalen where he tried to do the hero ball thing and did not work out well. There were some plays where defenders pretty much read him fairly well on the edges, because there were a few edge guys who batted down his throws, trying to get out to Dallas Goedert, trying to dink and dunk to Saquon. That, hey, is what it is. Sometimes you just got to give it to the defender. They made a great read. At the end of the day, I'm glad we're having these slight growing pains now instead of like later on in the season. So, yeah. As a whole, not exactly the greatest game from Jalen. Not perfect, but at the same time, not necessarily the worst. I mean, he still had pretty decent stats to end the game. But yeah, you got to clean up those interceptions. You got to clean up some of those reads. And you really, just don't oversimplify. Just don't overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate things. Like, just don't get in your own head. You'll be fine. Like, you don't have to go for the big play all the time. You don't have to go for the deep ball all the time. We know you have an arm. You don't always have to showcase it. It's okay to just go like the short passes. It may get you like 4 or 5 yards, maybe 6, but hey, it keeps the ball moving. So yeah, it's just one game. Like I'm not gonna get overly worried over one game. So yeah. And although I will say that for the moments that we did have our offense was moving well and was producing, for the moments that we were clicking and were rolling, we did a really good job. I mean, I loved how Jalen was spraying the ball around more. Last season, it felt like he was either going to throw it to AJ 9 times out of 10 and maybe sprinkle in Devontae here and there and barely throw to Dallas. And now, this year, this first game alone, he was spraying the ball around fairly well to all 3 guys, as well as letting Saquon do his thing. Now, looking at the stats, Jalen still finished the game with, despite the 2 turnovers Jalen got, he finished the game with 278 yards passing, 20 of 34 attempts to completions. Jalen rushed for 33 yards, 13 carries. It's not, sure, you will say it's not the perfect game, but at the same time, it's not the worst. I mean, passing yards alone, I mean, I don't remember, like, Jalen nearly threw for 300 yards. I do not remember the last time that Jalen threw for 300 yards. Jalen has always been more of a sometimes run first, pass later type of guy. He is more so likely to, if you look at Jalen's stats in the past, majority of his stats, like if he had a big yards game, majority of it came from running. Looking at this game where a majority of his yards came from throwing the ball, and he almost threw for 300 yards. That's a breath of fresh air for me. I love a quarterback who can throw for 300 yards. Although I'm not opposed to the way Jalen has done it in the past, getting the stats with his legs as well as his arm. Dual threat quarterbacks have never seemed to get as much respect as a guy like Peyton Manning. Like Cam Newton was great, dynamic, amazing, but you and sure it's partially because of the accolades, but you never really see him thrown in the same regard as Peyton Manning. When you think of like QBs who, like the more well-regarded QBs, you think of the Aaron Rodgers, the Drew Breeses, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Brady's, guys who don't necessarily run that much, more so get you big yards through the air. And there's nothing against that. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like there's nothing wrong with a dual threat quarterback. But at the same time, you would like to see that from your quarterback. And seeing that from Jalen was really nice. It was really cool to see. Now, looking at AJ Brown had a great game as well. AJ, 5 receptions for 119 yards and a touchdown. The longest was 67 yards, averaged 23.8 yards. That's insane. Oh my gosh, it's so great seeing this offense, this dynamic. It was great. Seeing AJ go against Jaire Alexander, it's always nice to see a great matchup between a cornerback and a wide receiver. And Jaire is one of the better cornerbacks in the league. I will give it to him. He's one of the best. So seeing him go up against anybody, especially if it's our team, it's really nice to see. It's even better to see when our wide receivers torch him. But at the same time, that comes with the territory. Looking at Devontae had 84 yards and 7 receptions. That was amazing. Devontae didn't have a touchdown, but hey, Devontae they spread the ball out fairly well. And looking at Dallas Goedert, 4 receptions, 31 yards. I'd say that is a fairly decent day for our receiving corps. Looking at these guys, again, in the past, it was always majority of the yards went to AJ, some went to Devontae, and then barely any went to Dallas. This game, it did feel like it was a bit more evenly spread out. We were using the guys using them to their strengths. We were using Dallas for short passes, some screen options here and there. We were using the move the sticks a bit. Caught Devontae in some of his routes, getting open in stride, getting the ball. Even using Devontae in some screen passes. Seeing AJ, of course, doing his thing, working on the slant, getting him the deep ball, just getting him those catches where coming back on doing comeback routes. This offense, when this team plays 100% full throttle, it's exciting to see. And there were definitely a few times in this game that I saw the makings of what could be in this offense. I said it already, but this could definitely be the best offense in Eagles history, in my humble opinion. I firmly believe it. If we just hit our stride, clean up some things here and there, and just play our brand of football, we will be just fine. Now, looking at it, we are 1-0 on the season. Next game is on Monday against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. That feels weird to say still, but it's at home in the Link. I cannot wait. Saquon finally gets to play in front of Philly fans in an actual game, and it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing to see. So yeah, that is my analysis for this Week 1 game, Eagles versus Packers. Forgive me if it may not be as in depth or as like professional as some other people on this platform, but you know, I'm still new to this. I'm trying, and yeah, it'll be fun to see how the rest of the season pans out. Like I said, we are 1-0 for the season right now. The road to the playoffs, the road to getting back to the Super Bowl has started in a pretty decent fashion. Yeah, I have full confidence and full belief in this team to have a big year, to make it back to the big game. Yeah, I think this team has what it takes to be great. This team has what it takes to be arguably the best in the NFL. Everything looks good on paper. Everything looks good on paper. Looking at what we have on offense, sure, you could easily say, oh, best offense in the league, but it's easier said than done. You can talk about it all you want, you can look at it all you want and say, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You can play Madden all you want and try to play it out that way, but ultimately nothing compares to the real thing. And seeing this first game, even though I try not to make deep judgments off the first game, off the first week of the season, there were multiple points in this game where I saw and I firmly believe that this offense has the makings of being a great one this season. Yes, there are some things to clean up. No debate on that. On both sides of the ball, there are things to clean up. At the same time, it's not impossible. And it's not like we're in shambles like we were last year. So, like last year though, I will say I won't accept fully a half-ass win or a just enough. I want to see this team be as dynamic, be a powerhouse. I want to see this team put away teams, and I do believe we can do that. It's just a matter of executing and not getting in our own head and not overcomplicating things and just playing football the way we know how to play football. This is going to be a fun season. I cannot wait to see how it turns out, and hopefully it ends with us holding that Lombardi trophy. This was fun. This is really exciting. Honestly, I really did enjoy doing this video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I will try to be better with it in the future, talking about the Eagles games and Sixers games slightly more in depth, slightly more professional. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, and hopefully you guys keep enjoying the content that I try to bring to you guys through shorts, through long form videos, just any and everything that I put on this channel. I appreciate all your support and all the love you guys give me, all the feedback as well. It's very much appreciated. If you are a Philly fan, or if you're not, you just found my channel, please subscribe, join the family. I would love to have you, just any support is much appreciated, even if it's a little bit. So yeah, thank you guys. Have a blessed day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you guys again after the Eagles Falcons game on Monday. So yeah, that being said, go Birds!